In this video, we're going to talk about the patch notes for 1.5.2 for Cyberpunk 2077, and also the announcement of a new saga for the Witcher games. Subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel. We give you the secrets to crush The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. So, I'm going to go through the patch notes kind of at the end of this for Cyberpunk 2077. Look at the description for a link for the timestamp. But first, I'm going to talk about, we got some job announcements that were just released in addition to this small blog that was released yesterday about the new saga beginning for the Witcher games. Now, I think the first thing you just want to look at this picture is that this looks like a cat, right? It does not look like a wolf, right? So, of the schools that were mentioned in the books, I think the cat was mentioned, the griffin was mentioned, and the wolf school was mentioned. So, I think that they're teasing here that the new saga is going to deal with the cat school witchers more than the wolf school witchers. That's basically all I can get from this speculation here. But also there's also were a bunch of job announcements by this Pavel Bana Pasuik, and he was also retweeted. He works at CD Projekt Red. I don't know his exact title, but if you go to their actual the link of the careers, right? So I think one of the reasons why they released the news about a new saga beginning for the Witcher games, and it's not going to be Witcher 4, but it'll either be a prequel or something that goes after, and it's going to be something in the Witcher universe. So I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the Witcher games take place after the books, right? So if you're watching the Netflix series, they kind of follow the books, although they kind of take their own liberties too. But the Witcher 1, Witcher 2, Witcher 3, those were right after the books. And so the books of The Witcher were called the Saga, and Ciri was really kind of the star of the saga. The saga was about Ciri, not really Geralt, although Geralt was the main character. So it's conceivable if a new saga is beginning, the saga that we saw for Witcher 1, Witcher 2, Witcher 3 was not about Ciri, even though Witcher 3 was about Ciri. It was about Geralt's saga. So I think that it's conceivable it could be a prequel covering the book material. It is also conceivable it's just in the Witcher universe and it's covering, maybe a generic cat school Witcher. Who knows? We don't know that for sure. But when they did do these job openings, I think if you look at the job titles, it's pretty clear that Vancouver and a lot of the Polish studios, except Molasses Flood, are still working on Cyberpunk. And we'll probably get more confirmation of this when we get an earnings release and an earnings call and talking to investors. But I think one of the reasons why they released the thing yesterday was that they were going to do a ton of job releases, and that would have just let the cat out of the bag. So I've always kind of thought that Molasses Flood, the new studio, which it has offices in Boston, but evidently also in Poland, that they're basically that they have always been working on The Witcher, because they kind of like tease that they're working on the new Witcher game saga. I thought it's possible that they even were going to do a DLC for Witcher 3, but I don't think they're going to do that now. I think that they're working on the new saga. So this was actually dated wrong when they released this. The website crashed, but we're happy to announce the next installment of the Witcher series of the video games is in current kicking off a new saga for the franchise. This is an exciting moment as we're moving from the Red Engine to the Unreal Engine 5, beginning a multi-year strategic partnership with Epic Games. It covers not only licensing but technical development of the Unreal Engine, as well as potential future versions of the Unreal Engine where relevant. We'll closely collaborate with Epic Games' developers with the primary goal of being to help tailor the engine for open world experiences. At this point, no further details regarding the game, such as development time, frame, or release date are available. The Red Engine technology, the technology which powers Cyberpunk 2077, is still being used for the development of an upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 expansion, right? So this is like really, really firm confirmation that they do have an expansion. And when CD Projekt talks about DLC, they don't mean that it's an expansion. They don't mean that it's like Blood and Wine or, a new thing that you would pay for to buy that's a big new map. They just mean it's like an armor set or a new gun. But if they say expansion, they mean it's going to be like Blood and Wine or Hearts of Stone in The Witcher 3. It's going to be, basically a paid expansion with an expansion to the map and main story quests, right? So I think that's great that they've kind of confirmed that there's going to be an expansion in that way. So that's quite good. But they're also, they're getting away from the Red Engine. It was clear that the Red Engine was some of the problems in the development of Cyberpunk 2077. And now that they're kind of using the Unreal Engine and licensing that, I think that'll probably make their development time quicker for the fourth Witcher game. It's not going to be called Witcher 4. It's not going to be a sequel. It might be a prequel and maybe something in the Witcher universe, but it won't continue Geralt's story. It might go earlier in Geralt's story, but probably not later. And so I think that's good that they're using the Unreal Engine. I also think that they can develop a Witcher game faster than they can develop a Cyberpunk game. So Cyberpunk was something like totally new for them, right? And The Witcher, they had a lot of experience with that. That being said, it was like a long time ago. We're getting to the point where there's very few people that were at CD Projekt Red when The Witcher 3 came out that are still there, right? So they're on an individual level, there's some learning there, but I think on a kind of organizational level, there's still a lot of people in the organization that understand what worked and how things worked in a kind of slasher game, slasher open world versus the next GTA 5, right? So they kind of failed on the GTA 5 front on Cyberpunk 2077. It was, kind of a completely new set of gameplay mechanics, etc. So I'm hopeful. I would say 4 years would be my guess from today. I think they've already been working on The Witcher 4, the fourth Witcher game. Obviously not a sequel. But, I just think they can turn it around a little faster than they were able to turn around Cyberpunk. And they say a new saga. So it's going to be, right? So Geralt's saga was Witcher 1, Witcher 2, Witcher 3. New saga could be Ciri's saga. That is from her youth to her, so you saw her training at Kaer Morhen, but going from her training to Kaer Morhen to the end of the Witcher books, it could be a new Witcher school, new Witcher, maybe a generic Witcher that we're following. Who knows? We really don't know right now, except it looks like that's a cat. And there's also like a bogus thing out there that they said that there's supposedly this Link school. That is total fan fiction, so don't pay any mind to it. It's not source. It's not. I agree that does look like a Lynx, but all that stuff about Lynx School is total garbage. So, I mean, you could have fan fiction on anything, right? So I'm not going to make my own fan fiction here or promote somebody else's, right? So what matters is what's in the game to me. Okay, so Radek here is a PR guy for CD Projekt Red. So this is kind of an official take from CD Projekt Red. What we have not announced today, right, that was on the 21st of March, 2022, a game called The Witcher 4. We've not announced a game exclusive to one storefront, right? So they're not going to put the game exclusively on the Epic Games Store, right? So CD Projekt has their own game store. I totally recommend buying from GOG over Steam and the Epic Games Store. I like the fact that they don't have digital rights management. You don't have to log in every time you play the game. You don't have to be connected to the internet. They're not going to do an exclusive deal with the Epic Games Store and undercut their own storefront, and they get 100% of the revenues from their own storefront versus 70% if they put it on the Epic Games Store or on Steam, etc. It's not that they don't do that, but they're not going to do an exclusive for that. And I personally would prefer to buy all my games on GOG versus the other alternatives out there. And then so the other thing is that he says it was our initial confirmation of the saga of the Witcher franchise, a new saga in the Witcher franchise. So multi-games, right? Multi-games. Now, we're going to get whatever the fourth Witcher game they produce is, right? Fourth Witcher AAA RPG. We're not counting Thronebreaker as one of them. We're not counting Gwent, even those are Witcher universe games. And they're not discussing any specifics in terms of story, characters, mechanics, or plot details. So basically, that picture of the cat medallion in the snow, that's all we get. All right, so let's look at the patch notes for Cyberpunk 2077. All right, so we've got patch 1.52 for Cyberpunk 2077 is being rolled out and will soon be available across all platforms. Here's a list of changes for this update. There's not a lot of patch notes for this. This is kind of a really minor update, so I wouldn't really freak out about this. The big changes were with 1.5. These seem to be minor bug fixes to me. Gameplay. Fixed an issue that could cause wrecked cars or multiple nomad cars to spawn in traffic when driving fast. Fixed an issue where a first equipped animation could be played repeatedly after recovering a throwing knife. The laminate armor media ballistic vest can now be found as loot in Japantown. Fixed an issue where recon grenade highlighted non-hostile crowd NPCs. Fixed an issue where using the take control quick hack on a device camera access were inverted when zoomed in. Quest, player won't be able to purchase again an apartment makeover they've already owned anymore. Added the showering interaction to the Nomad camp. It won't be possible to hack the north side apartment before completing Act 1 anymore. Fixed an issue where the open world combat events in some scenes could remain disabled after visiting Afterlife until the player fast traveled within Watson. Automatic love, walking into a wall in the elevator in the mega building H6 will no longer cause instant death. Blistering love, fixed an issue where Johnny could despawn if the player left the booth before interacting with the projector blocking progress. Cyber Psycho citing Demons of War, fixed an issue where it wasn't possible to progress past the search area to collect information. Epistrophe, fixed an issue where the quest could reappear in the journal instead of being marked as failed after the player failed to retrieve any of the cabs. I Fought the Law, fixed an issue where River could drive out of the market area erratically and push V out of world bounds. Life during wartime, fixed an issue where selecting the blue dialogue option twice upon arriving on the crash site blocked progression. Path of Glory, optional objective, Get Dressed, will no longer be incompletable if player collected the clothes before it appeared. The information fixed an issue where the door stalizzies were still closed during the hours they should be open, blocking progression. The ride fixed an issue where Dex's car was swerving left and right when driving away. With little help from my friends, fixed an issue where holo calls and text messages could be blocked if player told Saul about Pan Am's plan while nomads were driving away. Open world fixed an issue where summoned vehicles could be spawned away from the player. Suicidal corpos and Plaza will no longer stand up after the fall. Fixed an issue where the assault in progress in Arroyo wasn't visible in the map, hindering progress in the jungle achievement. Gig Goodbye Night City fixed an issue where the quest didn't trigger after approaching the area. Gig No Fixers fixed an issue where the Park Iris car in the garage optional objective didn't complete if player stopped in front of the garage. Gig Playing for Keeps fixed an issue where all enemies in the casino were set to friendly. Merkman returns again once more and forever. Fixed an issue where the Rayfield Cavern didn't spawn. UI added quest tag to fixer rewards. They weren't first found in the stash. Opening menus while reading the shard will no longer block the game. It won't be possible to change the position of the marker when the time skip is in progress anymore. Well, that's kind of interesting. I wonder if that was some sort of hack or glitch. Fix an issue where the loot UI could flicker and change before picking up the item. Fix an issue where the English text "a favor for a friend" would be displayed regardless of the language version of the correct quest name for some track quests. Visual fixed animations missing displaced objects and various scenes. Fix some issues where animation occurring when performing aerial takedown using Hidden Dragon perk. Fix an issue where sandstorms could appear in scenes they weren't supposed to. Fix an issue where foliage was not affected by different weather conditions. Polycarbonate sport sunglasses will no longer be visible when switching between third-person mode and first-person mode while driving. Console-specific memory improvements and crash fixes on next-gen consoles. Minor UI user interface optimizations. PlayStation 5 importing a save while not connected to the PlayStation Network will no longer block the option to continue the game. PlayStation 5 fixed an issue where corrupted save was created when player tried to import a PlayStation 4 save when no saves were exported. PlayStation fixed an issue where press options button to continue screen registered pressing button with a delay. PlayStation 5 wet roads will now be as reflective as on the PC version. PlayStation 5 Xbox Series X changing the preset and video settings will no longer set all graphic options to on automatically. Xbox One, Xbox Series X disconnecting the controller and entering the pause menu at the same time will no longer result in the player being stuck. Stadia specific enabled aggressive crowds on Stadia. Alright, subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel. We give you the secrets to crush Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3. I don't see anything in there that would possibly nerf all the money-making glitches, like throwing the guy with money in the trunk or the crafting glitch. Check out my videos on those things. I assume they still work. Bye-bye.